Alrighty, welcome to a Monday. We've got some heat to talk about. Temperatures heating up around here. We're looking for numbers on Tuesday, tomorrow, and Wednesday to peak into the 90s in the Bay Area. And inland, Sacramento and Roseville and those areas, it's Redding, we're talking over 100 degrees easily, especially on Wednesday and Thursday. Temperatures could get as high as 105, 108 degrees. We'll see. And this is not just a Bay Area, Northern California event. This is a West Coast event. And so what's going to happen is you're going to put up concerns for the power grid because now these big cities are using air conditioning at a high rate. And so the reason I bring it up, obviously, we talked a lot yesterday about heat stroke and heat being the most dangerous of all weather phenomenon, right? It kills more people than floods, blah, blah. And I would argue, and I think it's a safe argument, that a lot of heat deaths don't even get reported as heat deaths because heat deaths manifest themselves as other things, as diabetes or asthma or something. Any kind of pre-existing condition it makes sense. Like even super healthy people, when it's 105, 108 degrees out and you're going and moving around pretty good, you get weird, right? You get a little nutty. And I imagine being 90 years old. Imagine being a year or 2 years old. Imagine being a pet. I mean, think about the concrete. Like if it's 105 in Sacramento, which it will be could possibly be that on Wednesday and Thursday. But on the concrete, if it's 100, it's probably 130, maybe more, maybe 140. And so pets, unhoused people. So there's a lot going on here with this. So I'm just kind of getting on a little early. We're going to look at some models. The increased fire danger, obviously. We had that fire, the Corral fire yesterday really took off. The fires are not as gnarly as they could be as we get into August because the big trees, the conifers and the big trees are still holding moisture. The ground is still actually wet down a few meters, so the roots are deep and but the dry stuff, the 1 hour fuels, the weeds, the wild oat, that stuff just catches, and that's where we are in terms of fire danger. And then we talked about the health as well. So we've got pets and animals and all sorts of things that we want to be thinking about as we enter this next couple of days. Is it the end of the world? No. But I'm just kind of getting ahead of it. And it is funny, not funny, but it is interesting that the more I thought about it, I thought, especially with the power thing, if it weren't for the power thing, I'd go, yeah, I just deal, drink plenty of fluids. But if you're old and you live in a trailer and you're up in Chico or Orville or Marysville and maybe nobody to check on you, and those trailers heat up and you go into a brownout situation, it's very dangerous. So check on people, think about others besides yourself, because not all of us most of us are fine, but there's a subset of society that gets burned on these deals. So here is the National Weather Service page. It shows the heat advisory, and that's in orange. That's us, and you can see most of it is kind of away from the bay, and even Western Marin is out of it. Peninsula is out of it because there's going to be pretty good northwest winds along the coast to bring in a cooler sea breeze. But inland, cut off completely from the sea breeze, any sea breeze. Vacaville, Fairfield, Winters, Davis, Sacramento, Fresno, Redding, Red Bluff, all those cities are under an excessive heat warning. That lasts through Thursday. And that's sort of in my mind, that's a bit of the weather headline. Right now, let me see if I can pull in a little closer. I'll show you where we are. This is the current satellite image, and you can see, let's see if I can blow it up. So there's a little bit of fog right there, and that fog is just hanging on. What you really see here is there's a front going through. You see, I don't know if I'm going to draw a swoosh. It's kind of like a front like that. That's Carl barking, by the way. There is the front going through, and as that goes through, the high pressure builds in behind it, and that's why the heat's coming. Right now, it's not that hot yet. These are some of the wind barbs. But what I wanted to show you on the surface observation map is that these barbs are all going to start pointing north as we go into tomorrow. And the reason for that is the low went through. And right here, this is where it happens. When you see the barbs right in here, right there, they start to turn. See how they start to turn above up by Redding? That's an offshore flow. And so that's our indication that, okay, we are definitely going to get some heat, and we are going to see it here. This is the 850 millibar map. The 850 millibar map is at 5,000 feet. And so at 5,000 feet, these are the projected temperatures. Now, this is a little complex, but not horrible. The air sinks as it comes out of this high. The high is building in, the low goes through the high, but the air sinks. So if we can forecast the temperatures at 850 millibars, which is 5,000 feet, we can go, okay, the air's sinking, the temperature, let's do an example. So right here, the temperature over Livermore is 14 degrees. So double that, that's 28 degrees, add 32. So it's 75 degrees, and or somewhere around there. And then you add 20 degrees, because as the air sinks, if it's, 40, if it's in this case 14 degrees Celsius, as the air sinks, it warms 5 degrees Fahrenheit. So suffice to say, when it gets hot as heck in these areas in the upper atmosphere, you're going to see temperatures really start to soar. And this is how it looks on Tuesday afternoon. And you're looking at potential upper 90s, low 100s in these areas, all these orange and red areas. For the most of the Bay Area, where the heat advisory is not in effect, right in here, you can't really see it because of the red, but you can see that it's not as hot because there's a bit of a sea breeze. But look over here, look at out into desert Southwest and watch what happens. So we go, look at that, those purples. That's 110 degrees. And then it dies down at night and then fires up again. So it's it's a West Coast event. So we are definitely going to be warm. Then you see the sea breeze returning as we get into the weekend, and then everything starts to cool down again. I know, that's a lot. That was a lot. Okay, so we'll look at that again some other time. Just introduce you to that map, just because it's for heat, it's a good indicator. Hey, the fog's real dense at the coast. That means the high pressure is compressed, it's sinking. And so when the high pressure really starting to build in before the winds blow out the fog, it creates this really shallow inversion, and you get really bad visibilities along the coast. It's really pea soup. I suspect a lot of that's going to be gone by the time we get to tomorrow and Saturday and or tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. So remember, tomorrow, hot. Wednesday, hot. Thursday, hot as heck inland, but cooler for us. And you see these numbers. The real heat, it's going to be an inland valley event is what it's going to be. So we'll stay tuned. Again, this is not out of control stuff. It's just really because it's a West Coast heat event. I think the power grid is going to have its concerns, and that is always something to pay attention to. We'll see you tonight at 10.